Your ears pick up every shout, but your brain only tunes into one conversation. How does it choose? The answer lies in a silent battle inside the cortex where attention fights noise. Can we train this fight to make hearing aids smarter? The brain uses a tiny spotlight in the parietal cortex to pick out one stream of sound. It boosts signals that match your target's location and pitch, then silences distractors with inhibitory loops. Frontoparietal attention circuits amplify the chosen voice and dampen others, sharpening the signal-to-noise ratio until speech feels crystal clear speaker amid noise. Dopamine pathways reinforce this focus, strengthening synaptic connections for the attended stream over time. If you shift your attention to another voice, the new target becomes clearer. This dynamic filtering allows us to converse comfortably even in the most crowded social settings. Understanding these neural mechanisms helps design better hearing aids that mimic natural selective attention. Pause 0.8 sound waves first strike the outer ear and travel down the auditory canal. They vibrate the tympanic membrane, setting the middle ear bones into motion. The ossicles amplify the vibrations and transmit them to the oval window. At the oval window, fluid in the cochlea is displaced by the stapes footplate. This displacement creates traveling waves along the basilar membrane inside the cochlea. Hair cells on the basilar membrane convert mechanical motion into electrical signals. The resulting neural impulses travel via the auditory nerve to the brainstem. In the superior olivary complex, binaural cues are first processed for sound localization. Then signals ascend to the inferior colliculus, where frequency and intensity are refined. From there they reach the medieval geniculate body of the thalamus as a relay station. Finally, impulses arrive at primary auditory cortex, where perception of sound begins. This layered pathway allows the brain to filter background noise and focus on relevant sounds. This precise relay ensures accurate timing for auditory perception. Pause 0.8. When many voices overlap, the brain first separates them by their pitch. The cochlea converts sound waves into electrical signals that carry frequency information. Each auditory neuron is tuned to a narrow band of frequencies, like a musical note. These neurons fire only when the input matches their preferred frequency range. Temporal coding adds another layer. Neurons also track how quickly sound changes over time. Fast-changing speech sounds produce rapid bursts of spikes that are distinct from steady tones. In a spectrogram, overlapping voices appear as intertwined bands. The brain follows each band separately. Raster plots show that only neurons tuned to the target voice's frequencies fire in sync with its syllables. This selective activation allows us to focus on one conversation while ignoring background chatter. Thus, frequency tuning and temporal coding together create a neural filter that underlies the cocktail party effect. Neuroplasticity lets the auditory system refine its tuning as we learn new languages or accents. Over time, this adaptability enhances our ability to isolate speech in noisy environments. Pause 0.8. When you focus on one voice in a noisy room, your brain uses top-down signals. The frontoparietal attention network sends instructions from the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. It also engages the intraparietal sulcus to track spatial and temporal aspects of sound. These two hubs project directly to primary auditory cortex, biasing its response toward the target voice. The projections strengthen synapses that carry the attended signal while weakening those for distractors. This dynamic adjustment increases the signal-to-noise ratio in auditory cortex, making the target clearer. Neural oscillations in the alpha band also help suppress irrelevant inputs during this process. Together, these mechanisms create the cocktail party effect you experience every day. The brain's ability to filter noise is not static. It adapts with attention and practice. Understanding this network offers insight into how we can train better listening skills in noisy environments. Functional imaging shows that when attention is directed, activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex rises before auditory cortex activation. This temporal precedence confirms that top-down control initiates the filtering process ahead of sensory processing. Pause 0.8. The brain continuously monitors the soundscape for patterns that match a listener's focus. When you choose to listen to one voice, electrical activity in auditory cortex begins to mirror that voice's rhythm. This mirroring is called neural tracking, and it occurs within milliseconds of hearing each syllable. Magnetoencephalography (MEG) captures the magnetic fields produced by this rapid firing. Electroencephalography (EEG) records the accompanying voltage changes on the scalp surface. In a typical experiment, researchers present two overlapping conversations to participants. Participants are instructed to attend to one speaker while ignoring the other. The recorded MEG/EEG signals show a clear alignment with the temporal envelope of the attended speech stream. This alignment is evident as phase locking, where neural oscillations synchronize their peaks with the speech rhythm. Additionally, amplitude modulation in the brain's response follows the loudness fluctuations of the target voice. The result is that the brain effectively filters out irrelevant noise by tracking only the attended signal. Thus, selective attention is not a conscious decision alone. It is supported by precise neural timing mechanisms. Pause 0.8 In a noisy room, your brain first isolates the voice you want to hear. It does this by boosting signals that match the target's location and pitch. Hearing aids can mimic this by using directional microphones that focus on sounds from one direction. A conventional aid picks up all sounds equally, making it harder to separate speech from background noise. The new design steers its pickup pattern toward the user's line of sight, raising the signal-to-noise ratio. Auditory training apps reinforce this process by presenting users with overlapping voices in controlled settings. Each exercise trains the brain to sharpen its selective attention filters over time. Users learn to tune out irrelevant chatter while keeping focus on the conversation partner. The combination of hardware and software creates a synergistic effect that improves real-world listening. Clinicians can tailor training difficulty based on individual hearing profiles. Regular practice leads to measurable gains in speech comprehension scores. Ultimately, understanding selective attention guides both device engineering and therapeutic strategies. Pause 0.8 The brain filters background chatter by transducing sounds in the cochlea, routing them through subcortical nuclei to the auditory cortex, where frequency-tuned neurons lock onto speech patterns. Frontoparietal attention circuits then amplify the target voice and dampen others, enabling us to focus amid noise.